I'll tell you this, the temptation to hit someone with an "I told you so" is going to be strong in this week's forecast. Hi, my name is Haley Comet. This is Magic Monday, your weekly astrological horoscope, not just about what's happening astrologically, but how it is that you can co-create with the cosmos, how it is that you can understand these transits, the opportunities and challenges they present, and maximize them in order to navigate your life with a bit more magic. So if that feels in alignment with you, we would so love to have you subscribe. I'm here every single Sunday. And this week we are discussing the celestial happenings from February 3rd to February 9th, 2025. So firstly, I want to let you know we are currently watching the trailer for what the upcoming movie of Venus retrograde is going to be. And by that I mean, last week we entered Venus's pre-retrograde shadow period. So we're getting the hints and the clues around what our upcoming Venus retrograde story is going to be about. And that's going to affect our love lives, our bank accounts, what it is that we value, where it is that we seek pleasure. All of that may go through a review with that forthcoming Venus retrograde. Now there's two parts to the Venus retrograde movie. There's Act 1, which is Venus retrograde in Pisces, which we got hints and clues of last week. And then there's part 2, which is Venus retrograde in Aries, which is now being unraveled with this week's astrology. And the two acts of this Venus retrograde story could not be more different. They might be in the same movie, but they are incredibly different tonally, because Venus is going from territory where she loves to be in, her exaltation of Pisces, into territory where she's not so comfy cozy in, her detriment of Aries. This does not necessarily mean that it does not have its great qualities. It absolutely does. You could find with Venus and Aries, there is this fiery spirit around wanting to advocate for yourself and what it is that you value. You can find that there's this energy around wanting to be selfish. This does not mean that it does not have its great qualities. Like with Venus and Aries, you can find that you're being a little bit more impatient about the things that you value, which can be nice. If you've been feeling like your fighting spirit is at a low with Mars retrograde, Venus and Aries could be the necessary fierceness in order to get you riled up, in order to advocate for what it is that you value or what it is that you desire in some regard. This could be an energy around being selfish about the things that are important to you, or genuinely putting yourself first if you've had a hard time doing that. With the energy of Venus and Aries, you may find you're less inclined to just want to sit back and wait to attract things to you. You may find that you're more inclined to want to go out and get what it is that you want, advocate for what it is that you want. So even though Venus is not too happy here, and we have an extended amount of time with her in the Aries portion of the sky due to the upcoming retrograde, there are absolutely positive ways to tap into this energy. You're just going to want to be mindful of the impatience and the impulsivity that could come through in love and money starting this week. And another planet who's not too terribly pleased with where it's located is Mars, who Venus is answering to starting this Monday. Mars is currently sitting in its fall of Cancer retrograde. And I just want to validate, in case any of you are feeling a little awkward, feeling a little weird, looking out at life like, what is even going on? I just want to let you know that the cosmos are absolutely mirroring that awkwardness. We have a lot of the planets sitting in territory where they are uncomfortable. We have the Sun in its detriment of Aquarius. We have Venus entering its detriment of Aries, Mars in its fall in Cancer, Jupiter in its detriment of Gemini. What you need to know, if this is your first brush with dignity, is that these are not territories where the planets are able to fully thrive as their fullest essence, and thus they express themselves in a bit more of a debilitated fashion. It's a little bit of uncomfortable territory, and you yourself could feel like you're navigating in uncomfortable territory. That's not to say that we cannot be effective, even if we're feeling a little uncomfortable, right, in territory where we don't exactly thrive. And we see this with Mars trining Saturn this week, which is around putting our energy towards efforts that will stand the test of time or build what it is that we desire. but it's going to be important with Mars squaring off with Chiron earlier in the week before it trines Saturn, that you believe in your capacity to get what it is that you want, to fight for what it is that you want, and really utilizing brainstorming, teamwork, collaboration. We have Mercury in Aquarius trining Jupiter in the beginning portion of the week and Sun aligning with Mercury in Aquarius over the weekend. So there can be legitimate ahas, genius ideas that are stimulated at this time. We have Jupiter direct. So things can move forward even though there's some sticky spots, even though there's some awkwardness, essentially, cosmically speaking. So of course, as we do every single week, we'll dial into everything you need to know about this astrology thematically as well as day by day. But before we do, take a step inside my Cosmic Cafe. Let me know what you are sipping on to start your week. I have here a cup of peach passion tea. I don't know if I love peach tea so much as I love it being called peach passion. Like, I'm Mercury ruled. I'm such a sucker when it comes to catchy little names for things. But who knows? Maybe it just like deeply spoke to me because I am truly passionate about peaches. So are you passionate about the beverage that you are sipping on? Let me know below. Let me know below. We do have Venus entering Aries this week, which is a very passionate energy. Yes, it has its downsides. Absolutely. It could be a little fiery. It could be a little impulsive. It can lose steam after the initial excitement. It definitely has its downsides, which we'll discuss in totality. We don't have any other fire in the cosmos, and fire is our vitality. It's our passion. It's our life force energy. It's our fighting spirit. It's our zest. So with Venus and Aries, there is an ignition of this. And Aries is also the first sign of the zodiac. And I think a huge part of the Venus retrograde in Aries story, this act of the Venus retrograde movie, is really around self-love. Retrogrades ultimately are a flip of direction or flip of perspective. Rather than being too concerned around moving towards the future, it's a time to wrap up and complete the past. Rather than being too concerned with what's happening in our external world, it's an invitation to dive into your internal one. And with Venus being the planet of love and value, it's a time to seek that validation that you look for outside of you from within. True, genuine self-love, especially with Venus retrograde in Aries. You do not need to wait on anybody else to give you what it is that you desire, what it is that you are worthy of, and you don't need anyone else to celebrate you for you to be someone who's worthy of celebration. And you do not need somebody else to value you for you to value yourself. Like with Venus in Aries, it starts with you, honestly and truly. So contemplating how it is that you want to treat yourself or love on yourself this month. You know, you don't need somebody else to buy you flowers, buy you chocolate, buy you something shiny. You could do that for yourself. And in case you're admiring any of my something shiny and you would like to match me, everything that I'm wearing currently, as well as what I wear within most of my videos, is from my very favorite jewelry brand, Ana Luisa, which is your one-stop shop for all of your Valentine's Day shopping, whether you're wanting to spoil someone near and dear to you or you're wanting to spoil yourself. You deserve it, okay? And here's why I love Ana Luisa. You'll love Ana Luisa. Your Valentines will love Ana Luisa. Ana Luisa jewelry is jewelry that lasts. It is water resistant, so you can wear it in the shower, you could wear it hot tubbing. I wear mine working out personally, and I've had some of my pieces from Ana Luisa for years. It is jewelry that stands the test of time. So you can feel good about knowing that you're investing in jewelry that is long lasting. You can also feel good about investing in a company that is carbon neutral and sustainable. We may be navigating the independent Venus and Aries transit, but me, myself, I am a natal Venus and Pisces, so I'm a hopeless romantic. I love love, hence why so much of my Ana Luisa collection is heart things, like my locket, like these heart earrings, like this heart necklace. To me, when I wear heart jewelry, it is just a reminder to show up with love, which is what I strive to do with every single client that I see, with every single video that I film. I love infusing my jewelry with that extra bit of intention. They have lots of heart things if you're feeling the romantic energy of Valentine's Day, but they also have moons and stars, celestial pieces, as well as things that are more timeless. So regardless regardless of who it is that you're shopping for, when you take a look at the styles on Ana Luisa, you'll find something for everyone. And my encouragement would be not to wait, simply because the styles on Ana Luisa do sell fast. And once they're off the website, they're off. So if you want to twin with me, if you want to match with me, if you've admired some of my jewelry within a prior video and you see it on the website, it would be my encouragement to jump on it, take advantage of their Valentine's Day sale. There's pieces up to 25% off. So you can shop through my link, whether you are your own Valentine, whether you're buying for a Valentine within your orbit. So thank you, Ana Luisa, for sponsoring this week's Magic Monday and for keeping me adorned and beautiful at all times. Love you guys. But without further ado, let's go ahead and take it into Vibe Check of the Week. So Vibe Check of the Week is a segment here on Magic Monday where we take all of the celestial happenings of this week, because there's quite a bit: Venus sextile Pluto, Sun sextile Chiron, the Mercury Cazimi, the first quarter moon in Taurus. We take all of that and we compare it to a real life scenario. Sometimes we don't remember all the intricacies around what all of these individual aspects mean, and especially applying it to our week, our worlds, our universe. So this is a storytelling device to help bring this energy to life via a real life example. I'm not saying that this exact situation will play out, but if you tune into the vibe, you may find a similar one does surface. And like I said within the intro, this week's astrology is giving very I told you so. So let's paint a picture in order to give this some more nuance. So we will say that you work at a research lab and you've worked there for many years. You and your team have a very systematic way of doing things. And it just so happens that you all get new leadership who comes in and wants to make changes. And you've been at this lab for a long time. You're very dialed in with the ins and outs of around how everything runs. It's like a well-oiled machine. You're like, why do we need to change things? But you decide that you're open to changes so long as they are truly constructive. But when management gathers everyone together within a team meeting and says, we're going to brainstorm, we're going to find ways in order to move forward, to make things better, to make things more efficient, the methods that they are suggesting to do that, you recognize won't work. They won't work. And you typically are someone, you just like to go to work, you just like to do your job, you just like to do your research, and then you go home. Like, you're pretty low key, but you recognize in deducing this, you're like, this is not gonna work. Like, this is going to flop, and it's gonna flop spectacularly, and it's gonna affect my workload, my workflow, my relationships with my colleagues. I need to say something. This is hard for me to stand up for myself in this way, but I need to stand up for myself in this way, because it's not just me, it's my team, right? And so you decide at this meeting to say the various issues that this new procedure they're outlining is going to create. And you're being told that that won't be an issue, like focus on the good that it's going to create. You're thinking of the worst case scenario. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. It wasn't so great, which you knew. You knew, and you tried, and even them saying, oh no, it's gonna be fine, like that hurt a little bit, to just have your voice be ignored in a certain way, to genuinely build up the courage to vocalize something, because typically that's a little uncomfortable for you, and to feel so shot down, to feel so dismissed around something that you were just saying, hey guys, I don't think this is going to work. I've worked at this lab for many years. And you recognize when your idea is shot down, you're like, okay, we're gonna have to learn the hard way. We're gonna have to learn the hard way. And your team learns the hard way. It's a disaster, as you anticipated. And everything within you wants to hit everybody with an I told you so. I told you so. And even if you don't work at a research lab, you could have a situation in which you feel so tempted to hit somebody with an I told you so. Whether it's advice that you gave someone on something, a debate that you had with someone on something, there's going to be this desire to want to gloat in that victory of being right. But at the end of the day, it's not a victory altogether, because the team suffered, right? The group suffered, and you tried, you advocated for yourself, right? You advocated for your team, you advocated for what it is that you cared about. And ultimately, it really wouldn't do any more good to go around to every member at the lab and say, I told you so, I told you so. There's an invitation to redirect to, okay, the team. And let's brainstorm or create solutions that are genuinely going to work. Because this one didn't. And I told you guys it wouldn't. I told you guys it wouldn't. You know, Venus and Aries, it can ignite a little bit of sass within us, a little bit of fieriness within us. Honestly, sometimes a little bit of pettiness within us, right? And honestly, I know we talk about Aquarius as being such an open-minded sign, and it is, it's innovative, but at the end of the day, it's a fixed sign. It is a fixed sign. Fixed signs are stubborn. And this first quarter, moon in Taurus, very stubborn energy as well. Like sometimes people really do learn things the hard way. Even if you say, hey, that's not going to work, or hey, there's an easier way. Sometimes people need to learn things the hard way, which is so frustrating, especially if it's affecting the team, if it's affecting the group in some sort of situation. But sometimes people will just be so stubborn, and that's their lesson. Even though there's that temporary win around being in the right, it's temporary, because at the end of the day, the team lost. Like, you guys messed up your entire workflow. Like, you wish you didn't have to say I told you so. You wish management didn't have to learn this the hard way. And that's what's important to stay tuned to, is what really matters. You know, with Mars retrograde, not every battle is worth picking. It's not a wise usage of your energy to go to every single person on your lab team and say, I told you so, I told you so, like validate that I'm right. There's just an invitation, especially later on in the week with the Mercury Cazimi, Mars trining Saturn, to focus on the future or bucket your energy around, okay, whether I was right or you were right, regardless, this is the situation we're in. How are we going to move forward? What's some novel ideas that we can utilize in order to move forward, in order to dial in our workflows, systems? This didn't work. Maybe there's something else that could work, right? And at the end of the day, you know you were right. You know you're right. So let that be the victory that you need. And even just that energy around you advocating for yourself or standing up for yourself and feeling shot down, right? That's reflected by Mars square Chiron. You could be feeling very defeated and disheartened, especially towards the beginning part of this week. You could be feeling more drained. Mars is retrograde in Cancer. And with the square to Chiron, feeling a little bit like a broken bird with like a wing broken or something like this around. You put yourself out there. You tried to fly. You stuck your neck out. You advocated for yourself and you felt shot down. You felt dismissed, right? And there's a little bit of a wounding there around like, ouch. And maybe you would have fought more, but there was an energy around how easily you were dismissed, like, oh, it'll be fine, around feeling a little disheartened. And again, when you're proven right, there's still this frustration around, really, you guys couldn't just listen to me? You couldn't just value my perspective enough to just listen to me? You had to learn the hard way? You had to let stubbornness and incompetence get in the way? Okay. But again, with Mars trine Saturn, it's not just about a smart usage of our action and our energy. It's also a smart usage of our anger around, I could get mad at management, but at the end of the day, I have to stay focused on the real problem here, or the real issue, or the real villain. That's also going to be important. And that may show up differently within your world around, there could be temptations to squabble over issues that really don't matter, when the invitation is to really bucket our energy towards what matters, or what at least will be the most effective and productive usage of our time, our energy, and our anger. Honestly, with Mars trine Saturn. So we'll give more nuance and depth to this vibe check as we take it into our day-by-day analysis. I just have a couple of quick notes before we do. First being, I'm located in California, so all time zones that I mention are PST. If you are located elsewhere in the world, please adjust to your time zone, as many of these energies may land at a different time and even on a different day than the one that I state. I also want to let you know there are timestamps below should you feel called to jump to a particular day, jump back to a particular day. There's also a playback speed button where you're able to speed me up, you're able to slow me down. But without further ado, let's go ahead and take it into the astrology for February 3rd, 2025. So on Monday, February 3rd, at 1:52 p.m., Mercury in Aquarius will trine Jupiter in Gemini. Mercury governs our mind, our communication, our thought processes, and Jupiter represents expansion, growth, optimism. This is a time to read. This is a time to get educated. This is a time to communicate. This is a time to brainstorm. This aligns an air sign. So this is really an invitation to put our brains together, to brainstorm, to get together, to converse and have discourse with like-minded individuals, to debate individuals who are not like-minded. Again, save your energy for what is truly going to be effective and stay focused on what truly is the enemy here, whether it's a particular problem or a particular issue. It's important with Mars retrograde not to dissipate our Mars energy by just getting into random arguments with people on Facebook. Like, stay focused on the real aim here. But with Mercury and Jupiter, there can be an energy around expanding our mind, expanding our perspective, having innovative ideas. You know, if you're stuck in something, you're stuck in a groove, you have a bug in the code. We talked about that in last week's Magic Monday. You can get caught up above as well as below. If you have a bug in the code, sometimes other people can see it from their own operating systems, because we only see things in our own fixed groove of doing things. And sometimes other people can point out, why are you doing it like this when you could do it like this? And everything within you, when someone tells you something that you could be doing better, everything within you automatically will go to being defensive. Like I said earlier, Aquarius might be innovative and open-minded, but it's stubborn. And with Mercury and Aquarius, we want to be right. So when someone tells us, hey, you know, what if you did this? Or you should be like this, or you should be like this? Naturally, our brain's instinct is going to be defensive. Even if it's something legitimate, where it's like, that is an objective fact that is a bad habit of mine and that is something I should change. Naturally, just because of the way that we are wired, we will automatically go on the defense when somebody else is saying something that we are doing wrong or something that we could be doing better. That is a legitimate fact. And that's why it's really important within interpersonal context to not go into conversations saying you should do this, because automatically they're going to be on the defense. They're going to defend their position, even if it's not the position that is genuinely what is best. Whenever we feel attacked, we all of a sudden get a lot more dedicated to, this is how I'm going to live, and I'm going to die with this bad habit, even though it's just that, a bad habit. But because you are attacking me or telling me how to live or how to be, automatically that makes me just want to be that much more ensnared in this bad habit, because you're telling me it's a bad thing. I always say with Aquarius energy, it's like if you tell them to do something, they will want to do the opposite thing automatically. Automatically, even if that's not genuinely what they want, just because you dared tell them what to do, they will want to do the opposite thing just to prove a point. Like, truly, do not doubt how petty Aquarius energy could be. Truly, they will be the devil's advocate. They will rebel. They will stand down a particular perspective or in a particular habit just because they hate being told what to do. It just naturally makes them want to rebel. And when we think about that within that team meeting environment around you saying, hey, this won't work, after this management designed this idea, it makes sense why they dismissed you. It wasn't right that they dismissed you, but again, no one likes to be told that they're doing something wrong. No one likes to be told that. And it's important, especially in group environments, that we create a space in which people are able to vocalize where things could be improved or made better. We don't want to be surrounded by yes men or people who don't highlight the glaring issues within something. I just feel like the encouragement on Monday is stay focused on the we, stay focused on the teamwork of it all. Even within your romantic relationships, rather than being like, you need to do this and you need to do this, sound it from a we perspective. We can work on this. Even like from a teamwork perspective, rather than saying your idea is wrong, we could do things in a different way, or at least like brainstorming in a productive way, or focusing on what you guys want to create rather than the intricacies around who's right and who's wrong can be supportive here. And even like encouraging within brainstorming environments, throw out your weirdest idea, right? That's where genius is found, is in weird ideas. So even if you are part of a writing group or you're part of some sort of team meeting and people are not feeling safe enough to vocalize their ideas, say, okay, bad ideas only, weird ideas only. Sometimes that can give people permission to communicate and to share. And sometimes you find genius ideas or solutions or innovative approaches that wouldn't have come out prior because people didn't want to feel weird or judged. And there is an energy around, working together and being a team and brainstorming. There's energy around this alive within your Monday. But I do want to say, even an aspect as positive as Mercury trine Jupiter can have a downside, especially when we consider that Mars squares Chiron the same day. This was reflected within the vibe check around feeling like you were dismissed, like that little bit of like toxic positivity energy when you said, hey, this won't work. But again, because of their righteousness or their stubbornness, they were like, oh, no, it will. And you're like, but it won't though. But it won't though. Like Mercury trine Jupiter could be this energy around wanting to be right, wanting our idea to be right so badly that we're willing to dismiss any truth that doesn't particularly align with that perspective. And you then feeling dismissed by that toxic positivity, just being told, you know, you're creating an issue at the team meeting, just go along with it, just get excited about the new vision. It's like, well, there's an issue here, right? And you guys know, if you watch horoscopes from me, I always strive to be positive. I think it's important to be positive, especially now. I think when we are in a more positive headspace, we are more likely to identify opportunities and potentials and possibilities. But I also think it's important not to dismiss facts or issues that don't fit into that pretty picture. Right? Like management wanted their idea to work so badly and they were so stubborn in that they were willing to dismiss it because it wasn't positive, because it wasn't adding to the team camaraderie around being told that you're being a wet blanket or you're looking for problems where there is none. There can be an energy with Mercury trine Jupiter around wanting to gloss by data points or information that's not convenient with our own worldview and maybe even potentially with our more idealistic worldview or something like this. And it doesn't feel good to be dismissed, especially if you were in the right, which as time proved, you were in the right. Right? The energy of Aquarius, it is the sign of the future. And sometimes Aquarius placements overall have that I told you so moment in all sorts of ways around being really into an artist and they blow up in 2 years' time. It's like, I told you guys that this artist was going to be big. Or again, being really dialed in with something that becomes a trend in a couple of years. Like the I told you so energy is very familiar terrain for Aquarius placements, which is why it's reflected within Vibe Check of the Week. But it doesn't feel good to be ostracized or told that you're weird or told that it's bizarre or it's eccentric just to be proven right with time. Again, the I told you so gloat is very temporary. It really doesn't hit like you think it's going to hit when you get proven right about something, right? Like it's so temporary, especially if you felt ostracized and judged and dismissed at the time for having those ideas, for having those belief systems, for being into that group, for starting that trend before it was cool. Like this is familiar territory for the Aquarius placements. I just wanted to illuminate that you could be feeling some of that, you know, like vocalizing something to someone and they're just kind of like, yeah. You know, kind of dismissing because it doesn't fit into their little worldview at that particular moment in time. That could be alive, which may be having you feel some type of way, just with Mars squaring Chiron. But ultimately, work with this energy by learning, communicating, writing, sharing, getting together with individuals, having brainstorming sessions, vocalize that weird ideas are welcome, allow people to genuinely voice their problems. That's how we build towards big picture vision. That's how we're able to move forward. Overall on Monday, you may be feeling very low energy, very drained. It's worth mentioning that we still have Venus-Neptune separating in the cosmos. Venus does enter Aries later on today, but Venus is at the anaretic degree separating from Neptune. So you could just be feeling a little dreamy. Again, Mercury trine Jupiter could also be envisioning possibilities and potentials, and the impetus or the desire to take action on those possibilities and potentials may be at a bit of a low. With Mars square Chiron, you could just be feeling really drained and also questioning if you have the capacity to make those things happen. Like even getting a genius new idea, but like questioning, can I make this happen? Or even Mars is like our fighting spirit, how it is that we advocate and stand up for ourselves. And you might be like our protagonist in the vibe check where you do stand up for yourself and you get shot down. Like, yeah. By a group environment. Or there could be an energy around feeling a bit left out or feeling a little triggered by something, not feeling empowered enough to fight for what it is that you want, feeling very disheartened, feeling very beaten down by the circumstances of right now. And I just want to let you know, we're moving into more productive, efficient energy as we get closer towards the week. The biggest thing I would just say with Mars square Chiron is don't count yourself out at this point in time. And you truly do see the world differently when you rest, when you take care of yourself. If you're already feeling burnt out and drained, the world is going to look even scarier and even crueler and even more intense because you are viewing it from an empty vessel. A nap and a snack. Sometimes you genuinely need a nap and a snack. It's not that the world changes after the nap and the snack, but you change, and your ability to meet the challenges of the outside world change as well. And so there could be an invitation on Monday. If you're feeling low energy, take a bath, rest. This is the time to really be intentional with where you're placing your energy. And just with Mars square Chiron, you just could be feeling a little wounded, a little dejected, a little disheartened, a little like, what's the point? And it's important to know if you're viewing the world from an empty vessel, you're going to feel incapable of meeting the challenges of what's happening around you. So it's important on Monday to take a bath, to go for a walk, to do the things that pour into you first. You know, we've been talking about Mars in Cancer, how it's more cyclical. It's answering to the moon, which goes through its fluctuations, and you do as well. So also don't beat yourself up if you need a nap and a snack, okay? Please do not beat yourself up if you need a little bit of time in order to recuperate and recover. You are a human being, you are not a machine. Okay, that's the biggest thing. A lot of you may know this, and I'm curious, if you're an astrologer, can you let me know if the same thing happens for you? But when I tap into astrology, a lot of times I'll see things within my mind's eye, I'll hear songs, or in this case, I heard a sound bite when I was tapping into Mars square Chiron. I heard the sound bite, I think it's Nicki Minaj, but she says, you know, I took some time off to rest, and now it's game time. Like, that's the vibe. Mars square Chiron, take some time off to rest in the beginning portion of the week. Mars trine Saturn, by the end of the week, it's game time. And that's where we're able to be in game time, is because we have the reserves in order to show up. You know, Mars in Cancer is asking us to honor our cycles. We cannot be in that fullness of game time or hustle or grind without equally having that rest or that root system behind the scenes that supports all of that. So my encouragement with Mars square Chiron, take a bath, take a nap, have a snack, take some time off to rest, because it'll be game time. Okay, with Mars trine Saturn later on the week, as well as with Venus entering Aries that evening. So just before midnight, the planet of love, beauty, pleasure will enter Aries, which creates a little bit more fire in the cosmos, a little bit more zest, a little bit more impatience, a little bit more impulsivity. But with the Venus in Aries, we're wanting to go after what it is that we want. Again, with Mars square Chiron, we could have been feeling a little dejected. Maybe we didn't put ourselves out there and we felt rejected. Maybe we didn't even vocalize this at the team meeting because we're like, who would listen to me? We're in a very defeated place on Monday. At least it feels like we are. But with Venus and Aries, it's like, no, like I have value. What I have to share has value, and I'm going to advocate for what it is that I value. And with Venus and Aries, you could find that you are a bit more assertive when it comes to finances, when it comes to love, when it comes to beauty even. And with Venus in Aries, it does charge the cosmos with a bit of competition. Whether we are in competition with ourselves, wanting to take on new challenges, be the best that we can be, whether we're in competition with our pickleball league, it could be great to direct any sort of frustration into some sort of game or some sort of sport. There could be a light banter, playful energy within our partnerships, within our relationships, like challenging your lover to an epic video game battle or something like this could be alive. And Venus in Aries wants to play. You know, Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It's the cosmic child of the zodiac if we consider it like a life cycle. And so there's a desire to have a little fun. I know a lot is really heavy right now, but there could be an ask to blow off some steam, whether it's via pickleball, whether it's via a video game, whether it's via some new challenge. There's an invitation to infuse a little bit of levity and play in our lives as well. The moon aligned with Chiron and squared Mars very early on Monday, so really like Sunday night, Monday morning, which can indicate some energies around feeling more defensive, feeling more frustrated, and maybe misdirecting that anger. Again, I want you to be mindful of that with the Mars square Chiron energy. Sometimes when individuals are feeling disempowered with certain elements of their lives, they'll take out their frustration on you because it's one arena of their life that they can feel powerful over in some regard. So if you work with the general public and you're having somebody vent to you about how it's a horrible failing that your store doesn't have their particular size in stock, like sometimes it represents frustration that they're dealing with, that they're choosing to direct your way because they can feel empowered directing it towards you. That's never appropriate. That's never right. I just want to let you know that's what's going on with Mars square Chiron. If you get somebody who's vocalizing about this, that, and the third, and you're like, it is just a shirt that's out of stock. Like, I guarantee the world will go on. Sometimes people just want a place to put their anger. They shouldn't put it on you. That's never appropriate. But just be mindful if you see just discourse on social media or people coming into your job, people might be a little crabby, a little angry, and it's coming from a place around feeling so disempowered within their world that they feel that they're in some element of power being able to make their issues your issue or your problem, even though it's really not. So I just want you to be mindful of that. And then get this on Monday's astrology, the moon is void from 219, that closing aspect, Aries moon squaring Mars, so we're all crabby and a little frustrated, until it enters Taurus at 7:33 p.m. That is a long void moon. That's like a 15-hour void moon. And just in case you're new here, when the moon is void, important tasks we must avoid. And it kind of gives that energy of the meeting within the vibe check, where it's like we had this meeting, it seems like we're doing stuff, but ultimately it was a waste of time. We really didn't accomplish anything. We just talked a lot and we introduced this new procedure, which ultimately failed. Like, that can be void moon energy. I'm not saying what it is that you're working on Monday will fail. It's just kind of that energy around a lot of talk, no action with Mercury trine Jupiter, a lot of brainstorming, not a lot of application. Even just one of those meetings where we're all excited, we have all these ideas, then you go to actually do the things and you're feeling drained or depleted around, oh, now I have to do the thing. I would just not count on Monday being very productive. It could be great for talking and chatting and connecting, but it just doesn't feel like these are ideas that are necessarily coming to pass at this particular moment in time. Maybe you guys are planting seeds for future visions that you're put towards. Important to know that the moon is building from last week's Aquarius new moon, so let me know how that was for you. So we are in energy where it's favorable around growing things. So maybe some of the ideas generated at certain meetings or brainstorming sessions or things like this will grow with time, but doesn't feel like they're growing on Monday. I'll tell you that. The moon enters Taurus at 7:33 p.m., echoing that energy around a nap and a snack. Like, take care of your body. If you're feeling really frustrated and annoyed, again, there might be legitimate things that you're frustrated and annoyed about, but being hangry is not going to help matters on top of that. So with the energy of moon in Taurus, anchor into your physical vessel. Your problems look different when you are viewing them with a full belly or a calm nervous system or a regulated sleep cycle, things like this. There may be some anxiety that tinges into your evening with the Taurus moon square Pluto in Aquarius. This could be fear of the future, fear of security, and again, nap and a snack doesn't change those matters, but it's just going to be really important to really prioritize your nervous system and even just echo at this time, I am safe, might be supportive. So on Tuesday, February 4th, at 1:40 a.m., Jupiter, the planet of morals and faith and academia and travel, stations direct, which is forward momentum. Jupiter may not be comfy cozy in Gemini, but it is growing ideas and networking and communication of all sorts with Jupiter and Gemini. So truly, maybe we are taking some of the seeds that were generated within yesterday's brainstorming and being able to move forward with them in some regard. And ultimately, with Jupiter direct, there could just be this energy around really wanting to move forward in alignment with your own belief systems. If you feel like you've lost track with your own spiritual rituals or things like this, Jupiter direct could be an invitation to do that. Like, again, when things feel chaotic out there, what's the point of meditating and doing my spiritual baths and things like this? But it gets even more important to show up for those matters of your life when things get very hectic, to approach things not just from an anchored nervous system, a nourished body, a rested mind, but also a full spirit. That's where we're the most effective, especially as leaders, especially as way showers. It's going to be very important to being very embodied and truly being the change that you want to see, truly living by your belief systems, by your morals, by your ethics, embodying that. You know, with the energy of Aquarius, it brings a lot of focus on society and humanitarian issues and things like this. And Jupiter direct asks, you can have all the right beliefs, but is that alive in how it is that you interact with your neighbors, with your community, and what's around you right now? I know it may feel like a drop in the bucket in terms of overall all that's happening around you, but it does make a difference. You know, with Jupiter and Gemini, do not discount the big results. Jupiter's the biggest planet in the solar system that can come from small actions or small discussions or small connections that you find with those around you within your own backyard. And so Jupiter direct is an invitation to find meaning within your surroundings, reconnect with your spiritual practices if you've lost touch with them in some regard. Again, Venus entered Aries last night, which should make you feel more connected to your warrior spirit. We do have Mars squaring Chiron, so you might be like, I don't know if I have it in me to advocate for the world that I believe in or move towards the growth that I want within my individual world or the change that I want within the bigger scheme of the world. But with Jupiter direct, you should feel a little bit more of an optimistic energy come in. And with Jupiter direct, there's also this nudge within your world to be optimistic, and not in a way where you're dismissing realities or facts or issues, but with the energy of Jupiter, it's like, what are we going to do about it? Because a lot of us can highlight problems and issues. South Node Virgo, there's problems and issues everywhere we look, right? We can find fault in anything, and there's a lot of things to find fault around. But with Jupiter direct, it's like, how can we find solutions? So it's less so around being at the meeting and saying this won't work. It's like, this won't work, and what if we try this? Like with Jupiter direct, it's like finding solutions, or at least moving us towards things that will get us closer to where it is that we want to go. That sometimes people could be more receptive about if you're not just pointing out, hey, this is wrong, what if we try this, right? With Jupiter direct, there can be an energy around wanting to move forward with new ideas or new solutions, or just moving forward altogether. Can be the nudge here. That being said, the moon is in Taurus all day long. So the moon is exalted. You know, we have all those planets not dignified, at least the moon's dignified. The moon clashes with Mercury and Aquarius that evening. Battle of head and the heart, being very stubborn, being very rigid, being very fixed in our way. Again, some people will go to the end of the earth to do things their way, the hard way, because they don't want to admit they're wrong. And that could be really frustrating. Again, I don't feel like people are really hearing you today around what it is that is being communicated or shared, especially it's around something new. With Mercury in Aquarius, Taurus moon, there could be a certain tension around a novel way of doing things versus staying with the security around how things have always been done. There could be tension there. And that can show up in your dealings with others, yes, but also sometimes within yourself. Maybe you're the stubborn one. Maybe you'll do things your way, the hard way, rather than dare admit that you are wrong, right? And there is an energy this week around where we can get out of our own way and question our comfort zone or the typical ways that we do things. Because again, Jupiter is direct on this day. So there is this desire to move forward, to expand, to grow. And with Jupiter in Gemini, to embrace other people's perspectives as we expand and grow, or even other people's outlooks or things like this. I think that's why Jupiter doesn't particularly like being in Gemini, because Jupiter is around our morals, our ethics, things that we feel and believe to be true, whereas Jupiter in Gemini is around, well, what do you think and believe to be true? And there can be genuine truth that can be found when we do encourage discourse or other people's perspectives, and that's an ask on Tuesday, but it's going to take being able to challenge your own perspective in order to invite a different person's perspective. Again, it's easier to point a finger at other people around other people are so stubborn, they will do things their way, the hard way, but really look at yourself as well, where it is that you're not taking people's advice, where it is that you're not taking into account certain issues and problems. Like again, be the change that you want to see is the Aquarius season energy. It's easy to make other people the enemy, but sometimes we do have to take that moment around reflection around, am I doing this? Am I clinging to the stubbornness of my comfort zone? Am I not challenging new perspectives and new ways of doing things? If I want to live in a world that's more open-minded and more collaborative, how can I embody that now? And with the energy of Taurus, it typically takes time, so no one needs to do anything drastic quite yet. We're also building to the first quarter moon in Taurus that lands early on Wednesday. So just going to be important to ground down. Don't feel like you need to arrive to a decision right away. Don't feel like you need to force someone else to make a decision right away. You could just plant a seed and let things simmer. Sometimes things do turn around. When you kind of plant the seed, let it simmer. On Wednesday, February 5th, I want to let you know that shortly after midnight, we have the first quarter moon in Taurus. So this is a callback to last week's Aquarius new moon and a check-in point to next week's Leo full moon. So we're kind of between a rock and a hard place, I would say, which feels appropriate since it's a fixed sign square, right? There's definitely a spirit of some stubbornness, of this tension around new ways of doing things versus the security and the stability around how they've always been done. This energy around wanting to empower group dynamics and do what's best for the team while also really wanting to be right. That can be alive here. It could also be a nudge with that Aquarius new moon. Like I said, it was supportive around growth and moving forward. And maybe potentially this first quarter moon is kind of nudging you to do one thing to root it down, to ground it down. You know, we have a decent amount of the cosmos in air right now, which is very much of the mind. And we can have all these ideas, but it comes down to execution. It comes down to doing the thing. So the first quarter moon could be this like nudge to doing the thing. If anything, to prove someone wrong. Again, I know I've been talking about the downside of this more stubborn energy, but man, have you ever encountered a Taurus or an Aquarius who is determined to prove someone wrong? Like someone said, oh, you can't do that. They will go to the ends of the earth to show them, oh yes, I will. And that's where this energy can actually be quite helpful, is almost being petty for your own gain or for your own benefit. Like, have you ever been fueled by someone who told you that you couldn't do something, like, oh, you'll never be able to beat that mile time, or you'll never be able to pass that class? You're like, really? Watch. Literally watch me. And you get to, reap the rewards for that pettiness. So the pettiness around wanting to be right sometimes can behoove us. I just feel like it's important to pick your battles and know where to direct this energy. But this could be a nudge of some sort to take some sort of action towards that Aquarius new moon energy around creating the change that you want to see. And listen, I won't tell if you won't tell. If you want to kickstart this change and transformation for somewhat of a petty reason around, I want to go and bulk up in the gym because my ex said I never would be able to, or I want to launch this business because my frenemy said that I wouldn't be able to. Listen, it's not about them. Sometimes it's just helpful as like fuel. And just a heads up, I'm by no means insinuating that everybody who has Taurus placements and Aquarius placements is petty. It's just consistent energy, stubborn energy, fixed air, fixed earth. Nevertheless, the first portion of the day, the moon continues on in Taurus. It sextiles Saturn, it sextiles Mars, so there is productive energy. There's energy towards catalyzing change, with the moon aligning with Uranus at 11:10. Again, never discount your ability to create change. I know a lot of times our behaviors feel very fixed, but things can change at any moment in time, and I think there's an ask to embrace that. You can change at any point in time. You can decide to get in the gym to flex on your ex. You can decide to start that business because your frenemy said that you couldn't. Like, things can change at any moment in time. I know a lot of times it can just feel like our days are just a repeat, one after the other, but with Moon Uranus, you never know when you're going to wake up and something magical is going to happen, or you're just going to have a new craving or a new desire. So it's like empowering the serendipity of life, as well as if you're feeling called to rebel or to create the change that you want to see. And then the Taurus moon sextiles Neptune at 7:29 p.m. So overall, it does seem like a productive day. You might feel a little erratic all over the place. There might be things that are unexpected midway through the day, but with the Taurus moon, just remember to ground yourself down, one thing at a time. The moon is void at 7:29 p.m. Closing aspect is that sextile to Neptune until the moon enters Gemini at 10:44 p.m., which ignites our mental spaces, our verbal spaces, our potential overthinking. So you've been warned on that. On Thursday, February 6th, the moon is in Gemini all day long, which is a playful, curious energy. And the Gemini moon sextiles Venus and Aries at 1:17 a.m. So very, very early on Thursday. But if you are awake and up for that energy, it can be an invitation to learn something new, try something new, see where it is that you cannot take yourself so seriously. Play some pickleball, play a video game, try a new recipe. Like, there's an energy around remembering the novelty of life that's alive. I mean, Aries energy in general typically likes beginnings and starts of things, but I feel like it's important, just with yesterday's astrology and then today's as well, to just recognize that every day is an opportunity to create something new, to learn something new, with the Gemini moon energy to infuse a little bit of lightness or levity into what it is that you do. Great week to be reading or putting your brain towards things that kind of take you out of your own experience. I feel like that's going to be helpful. And with Venus in Aries, maybe it's starting a new book, or maybe it's starting like audiobooks or something like this. It might be a nice week to try something new. And then the Gemini moon will trine Pluto at 2:34 a.m. and conjoin Jupiter at 6:16 p.m. So focus may be a little bit of a problem with the energy of Gemini moon. Sometimes it could be a little squirrel energy, but it feels like we're being distracted by connection, which is such a worthy, powerful usage of our time. So there's an ask to really invest energy in the connections within your world. Start a conversation with someone that you haven't talked to in a while. Reply to DMs if you're as horrible as I am about replying to DMs. Maybe this will be the day that I reply to DMs. My problem is I'm a Pisces, so I reply telepathically. Like, there's so many times that I open a DM and I literally just hit you with one of these, which I recognize that not everybody communicates in that way. So I'm so sorry if you've ever sent something kind or sweet, or you asked a question and you didn't hear anything from me via the interweb. I've been hitting you from the ethers. Okay, pick up what I'm putting down. But I'm so sorry. I'm really not great about answering DMs. Hard on our mental state, the state of being constantly accessible, like at all hours of the day. Like, I don't think that helps with focus around constantly being pulled out of things in many different ways, like group chats and messages and things like this. And I think it's helpful to have days like astrology like this, where it's a really beneficial day to just intentionally invest within connection and communication. Intentionally invest within circling back with leads, or following up with sales calls, or talking to your community, posting polls. There's like a curious, connected energy on Thursday that I would just encourage you to grab hold of. It'd be helpful for our mind to be able to compartmentalize things around not feeling like we need to constantly be on, or constantly be accessible, or constantly communicate with others. Just grab hold of Thursday. You might find that you're naturally more inclined to do just that. And outside of even just connection and communication, there could just be a focus around learning. Again, with Venus in Aries, sometimes we can feel a little bit bored or want a new challenge within our life. So this could be take up a new hobby, read a new book, start reading audiobooks. Again, challenge your brain would be the ask on Thursday. On Friday, February 7th, at 4:14 a.m., Venus in Aries will sextile Pluto in Aquarius. It's important to note, firstly, sextiles are opportunity aspects. So it's not necessarily gonna come in like a wrecking ball. Astrologically speaking, it's soft and subtle. So subtle that you could miss it. If you blink, you miss it. And I would encourage you not to miss this, because this could indicate the power of challenge around recognizing that every obstacle within our world presents a challenge for us to grow, and to not fear the growth, to fall in love with the process of challenging ourselves. It's a lot like working out in the gym, is this energy, where yes, we grow muscles through challenge and stress and tearing the muscle, but we get the gift of strength, where we now are able to hold that challenge. And that shows up within our lives as well. You might have a certain situation within your life that's very challenging. And I'm not saying we need to go into all of those experiences like, yay, I'm getting stronger, this is so pleasant, because a lot of times it sucks, it's hard. But with the Venus sextile Pluto, it's honoring the resilience that you are building, the strength that you are tapping into, the warrior that you are embodying. And it's recognizing the strength that you build through meeting that challenge, because that transcends just that particular arena of your life. Because you advocated for yourself in that team meeting, yes, it did not go your way. They did not listen. But that challenge around speaking up, maybe the next time something hard shows up, you'll feel a little bit more empowered to show up for it. Or if you kicked one bad habit, you'll feel a little bit more empowered to address this other bad habit. Or because you and your partner have gotten through this hard chapter within your marriage, you are more empowered to meet the next one. Like, Pluto is really around resilience, and we recognize how resilient we are in hard circumstances. And with Venus in Aries, it's seeing wherever possible you can get in that mentality around it's game time, right? It is game time. It is game time, right? I'm gonna get what it is that I deserve because I deserve it. I'm gonna fight for myself because I'm worthy and valuable enough to fight for myself. And maybe even with Venus sextile Pluto, it's just honoring the people that are on your team, that are cheering you on. That could be your friendship group. That could be this cosmic community. I'm always cheering you guys all on. I love seeing you guys support one another in the comments. Like, it's just knowing that while there's certain obstacles and challenges that are ours alone to meet, Venus and Aries, very independent energy, you have a whole team of people backing you. Even if it's not friends that you see every single day, remember your people, remember your network, remember the power in numbers. And that itself can be healing, because that evening at 10:22 p.m., we have the Aquarius sun sextiling Chiron in Aries. It can feel healing to feel part of something bigger than yourself, because sometimes we go through energies where we're like, am I strong enough for this? Like, honestly, legitimately, am I strong enough for this? Like, Mars in Cancer squaring Chiron earlier in the week could have had you asking that. Like, am I capable of meeting this challenge? I'm feeling so disheartened. I'm feeling so defeated. Can I do this? Sometimes we need those friends or those mutuals or those people around you who remind you, yes, you can, who see you within your full strength, even if you don't have the capacity to see yourself within that at that moment in time. And it's also just knowing, because there's this energy this week around being the weird one, being the different one, being the one who vocalized at the meeting, hey, this won't work. This won't work. You were the weird one, right? You were ostracized or judged. You're like, why are you bringing down the team meeting when you dared to be different? But the individuals who dare to be different are the ones who create change. And again, you don't have to gloat and say, I told you so. But in time, people will see. And whether or not they heard you at that particular moment or had the capacity to hear you, at the end of the day, you were true to yourself. And you are never going to be off course when you are genuinely true to yourself and true to your belief systems. And we need individuals who are willing to whistleblow or willing to call things out or willing to be different or willing to be weird. Because at the end of the day, you have to sleep with yourself. You have to live with yourself, and you won't feel good about yourself if you know that you brushed certain things under the rug or went along with the status quo in order to fit in. And with the energy of Sun sextile Chiron, it could just be this energy around the healing vindication, soft, right? It's a sextile, but the healing vindication around recognizing that you were right, that feeling of being ostracized or made to feel different or flawed than other people was worth it, I guess. And maybe you, not in a group environment, but you've experienced seasons of your life of feeling like an outcast, feeling like a weirdo. There's an energy around honoring that those very experiences around feeling different and standing within your differences, even though it would have been easier to just be like everybody else, how that calls in like your soul community, the people who are the fellow weirdos and eccentrics and things like this, and how healing it can be to be on a similar wavelength as someone else, especially someone who dares to be themselves. I think those people are so interesting, truly. I mean, we got a Gemini moon all day long. I think the people who are radically dedicated to themselves are interesting. You want to pick their brain. You want to ask them questions. You want to learn more about them because they're not trying to be anything beyond who it is that they are. And that's also healing for other people as well. Like, I think if we are radically ourselves, we free other people to be radically themselves as well. And it stimulates innovative new discussions and conversations, which we just see with the Gemini moon trining Mercury in Aquarius. So there is a lot of mental, intellectual energy this week, brainstorming, thinking of new solutions, putting our heads together. Even if you're just dealing with an issue in your life, vocalize it to someone else. Sometimes outside of your own program and your own software, people see things that you missed, right? And it can be hard for the ego sometimes, admitting where it is that you're wrong or that somebody else has a point or somebody else's idea might actually work. But ultimately, it's going to be for the best. Like, again, you do not need to go down with the ship just to prove your point or to prove that you're right. Sometimes we can just tune into overall what is going to help me move forward, what's going to help our team move forward, what's going to help change my life, even if that is me admitting that I was wrong on this or not getting to have my I told you so moment. Ultimately, this will benefit me in time. So it's staying focused on your priorities, I would say, this week. It's really not so important whose idea it was or who was right or who was wrong, or if this person's idea was better than your idea, or if you were wrong around having this particular habit. It's just honoring a good idea is a good idea. Doesn't matter who it came from. A good idea is a good idea. A bad idea is a bad idea. Let's all vocalize it. Let's discuss. Even though we have some innovative brainstorming energy, the Gemini moon then goes on to square Saturn in Pisces at 6:14 a.m., which is discourage overthinking, waking up to unpleasant news, waking up to unpleasant emails, waking up to unpleasant responsibilities that aren't so fun, where you feel a little bored, you feel a little mentally checked out. The Gemini moon trines the Aquarius sun, so it's the waxing gibbous moon. Remember that teamwork makes the dream work. Where the team improves, everyone's lives improve. You know, sun is the luminary in astrology around self and ego and identity. And it does not do well in Aquarius because Aquarius is around groups of people beyond I am energy. But the gift of this is that we can lose ourselves in something bigger than ourselves. And that's where it gets less important whose idea it was, whose contribution it was, because ultimately it benefits everyone. And waxing gibbous moon phase is a time around improvement, dialing into details. So there is a nudge, whether it's within a friend group, a work team, a creative project, there's a nudge to really see a win for the team as a win for all, and really like working together, putting your heads together. And that could be healing with the Gemini moon sextile Chiron. We already talked about the sun sextiling Chiron. Again, Chiron is earned empathy, where it is that we alchemize things that were hard for us and are able to help and heal others. And sometimes if we know what it's like to be outcast, judged, made to feel weird, made to feel like a loser, oftentimes that wound can make the best leaders because they know what it feels like to feel ostracized and judged like an outcast. So they're very intentional around creating an environment in which no one feels that way because they know what that feels like. Right? That's Chiron energy. And it's really around alchemizing that rather than staying embedded within the hurt of feeling like an outcast or weird or different. It's alchemizing it. And it's knowing that oftentimes those outcasts, you know, the weirdos, the eccentrics are the visionaries. They're the ones who create change. They're the creators. They disrupt boxes. They weren't made to fit in a mold. And they typically lead teams in which people are empowered for their eccentricities, not silenced for them. The nudge is to really alchemize that hurt, not stay identified within the bitterness of not feeling accepted, but really seeing, now that I know what this feels like, how can I intentionally accept others or create an environment in which weirdness is celebrated, authenticity is celebrated. I feel like those are the leaders that we want in chart. And then that evening, you may have interesting dreams with the Gemini moon squaring Neptune shortly before midnight. Just be mindful if you decide to go out and socialize. You know, we're building to a full moon. The square to Neptune, you can overindulge. 1 glass of wine can become 6 glasses of wine. A quick happy hour could turn into 5 hours of conversation. Listen, if there's one thing Gemini moon energy can do, it is chat. And with the square to Neptune, we can lose track of time. It could just all melt in together. You know, Friday night becomes Saturday morning real quickly. And even if that's not wine and conversation, you could be sucked into Netflix, sucked into a movie, sucked into a video game, something like this. Remember to get some sleep. On Saturday, February 8th, at 3:04 a.m., the moon enters its rulership of Cancer. And so the moon is moony. And so we can definitely feel our emotions oscillate more intensely. We can find we're more inclined to want to prioritize the arenas of our life that make us feel secure and safe. We can be feeling more nostalgic. Do keep in mind, Venus is in its pre-retrograde shadow, so naturally there's going to be certain contemplations of lovers from the past and friends from the past, which we all know Cancer moon favors a stroll down memory lane every so often, which you can stroll, just bring a map, right? Bring a GPS if you're gonna go down memory lane. We have a little bit of tension at 8:28 a.m. The Cancer moon squares Venus in Aries. And if this is a planetary duel, technically the moon is winning, which you wouldn't think. Venus in Aries is kind of that energy around someone who comes in hot, right? With all the spark, with all the zest, but not always the follow through. Whereas the energy of Cancer moon is kind of like nurturing the circumstance, staying chill, staying calm. So if this was like a WWE match, Venus in Aries would come in all raring to go and Cancer moon would just kind of like respond and adjust to what Venus in Aries is doing until it burns itself out. It's kind of the energy of this, but what does this mean for your world? Because I doubt any of you are getting in a boxing ring this weekend. If you are, let me know. The comments you guys share, sometimes there's so many interesting people who watch this channel. Sometimes I read comments and it'll be like, wow, Saturday's aspect sounds great for the clown convention I'm going to this weekend. And I'm like, the what? The what? It's fascinating to me how many different sorts of people there are in the world with different interests and different hobbies. And it's so much more interesting to me than when people try to be someone that they're not or try to fit into the mold. Life is too short. So anyways, I just always love reading your guys' comments, and I just love the eclectic group that we've gathered here in the cosmic corner of the internet. So let me know if you have any interesting weekend plans. I will get a kick out of it. I always do. But anyways, if we're not in the wrestling ring or the boxing ring, I honestly don't know the difference. If we're not doing that this weekend, what does this mean? There could just be this tension around what we want and crave in order to feel safe and to feel nurtured versus what feels good. There could be this tension around wanting immediate gratification versus wanting something that genuinely allows us to feel more safe and anchored. So you could feel a little impulsive on Saturday, but have this like push-pull around, gosh, I want to go get a donut, but with the energy of Cancer Moon, is that genuinely nourishing myself? Like, is that really taking care of myself, or should I make a breakfast that has a little bit more protein? Like, you can have a little bit of a clash between what sounds fun and what will create pleasure right away versus what genuinely will nourish and care for yourself. And so I just say, be mindful of like immediate gratification or answering to every impulse that comes in. Like with the energy of Cancer Moon, allow yourself to respond to what it is that you're craving, but really contemplate what's going to make me feel the most safe and the most anchored, especially since we're building to that full moon. You know, emotions can feel a little high. You're a little building. I also want to let you know we have Mercury in Aquarius, sextile Chiron in Aries. Really great weekend to be listening to different podcasts, reading different books, listening to different voices, especially things that help you understand what it is that you're moving through. This could also be having different conversations, joining a support group, joining a team, joining a club. Something around the healing facet of community is definitely alive this week, but also just contemplating, even if you're in your own room reading a book, just contemplating that you are not alone. Again, it is not possible for anyone to be going through something as a sole individual on an island. I know it feels like that sometimes, but sometimes dialing into people's stories and their advice helps you recognize that you are not alone. And sometimes even just being able to quantify certain things that you are moving through, like the healing power of receiving a diagnosis, again, doesn't take away the pain of what it is that you're dealing with, but being able to go to support groups or learn from other people how they manage their symptoms, or even just the clarity around knowing what something is can help with the healing process. Or even if you're dealing with something emotional, like being able to tap into the awareness that, you know, someone that you're dating is a narcissist. That could be healing within itself, because if you've gone through that, you feel crazy. You feel insane until you understand what's happening. And then being able to connect with other people who have gone through something similar, it just is so healing because you don't feel so crazy. Because going through that makes you feel crazy until you understand what's happening, because it's bigger than you. So there's something around healing conversations or perspectives, or even being able to name or quantify things that's helpful. I want to let you know that tomorrow we have Mars trine Saturn, but you're going to feel this build Friday, Saturday. So we are moving into productive energy. Yes, emotions might be high as we build to the full moon, but there is an energy to empower yourself, to move towards solutions, to take action. Even if it's just doing one thing in order to improve your circumstance, that can change your whole life. Even the decision to decide to advocate for yourself, to decide to fight for what you want or the world that you want to build. There was like a podcast clip that came up on my feed from Mel Robbins, who was talking about how she was able to change her life just by getting out of bed. Like, again, sometimes it starts slow around just that decision that you are going to get out of bed. It builds this positive momentum, because if we're just stuck in the same old, in that particular example, she and her husband were $800,000 in debt, and she would just like stay in bed. She felt so disheartened and so disempowered over her circumstances that sometimes that shame of that building, of silently suffering, of just feeling so dejected, of feeling so overwhelmed by how we could possibly get ourselves out of that situation, sometimes that keeps us stuck, and then we don't take any action because it just feels so overwhelming. And sometimes it just starts with getting out of bed. She had shared within that clip that she would say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to get out of bed. And then she would get out of bed, and just creating that momentum to do at least one thing that's going to help future you, or one thing that's going to move this lab team along, or one thing that's productive, not feeling overwhelmed, or with Mars square Chiron, allowing guilt or shame to keep you stuck. Again, take a nap and a snack, but then recognize when it's game time. And you don't need to fix it all right away. It's even just taking one step forward. On Sunday, February 9th, at 4:08 a.m., we have a Mercury Cazimi in Aquarius. And this is a lightning bolt of clarity. This is an aha. This is an eureka. This is a light bulb moment. This is what I would imagine mathematicians and scientists and inventors feel when they have arrived to the conclusion, or they finally have figured it out. They've cracked the code. They've disrupted the algorithm, whatever it is. I would imagine this is what it feels like. And again, maybe not all of us are going to invent something this weekend or think of the solution that's going to fix the lab team this weekend. But there can be this energy around just a bolt of clarity, something that you just see clearly. And maybe it's even healing. I mean, this Cazimi is sextiling Chiron, something that allows you to see something with clarity where you no longer take something personally, or you're no longer internalizing something, or even just recognizing where something needs to change that can create the pathway forward for healing. There's something around recognizing that it's not a you problem. That's the biggest thing that I want to communicate, because with Mars square Chiron earlier in the week, there could be this energy of feeling very defeated, of feeling very lazy, feeling very unmotivated, or just even beating yourself up around, if only I was more this or more this. And sometimes it takes this kind of like Mercury aha energy around recognizing like it's not a me thing, it's not a moral failing, it's not that I'm a lazy person, it's just that my workload is so intense, or that I'm trying to keep up in this capitalistic society that quantifies my value based on how much I produce. Like, do not internalize these things and feel like you are at fault, or you are broken, or that you are inherently flawed. It just feels like there's like an aha around that coming in this weekend, and maybe just something that you're able to see differently, or people you're able to band together to recognize, oh, I'm not alone. It wasn't like a moral failing or that I'm lazy or unmotivated. It's that we're all living in this society. Like, sometimes that is a gift that comes from connection, is recognizing, oh, I'm not alone. Because sometimes when we're in that state of shame and just feeling really defeated and feeling like it's a personal failing, we just withdraw into ourselves. We beat ourselves up. And sometimes connecting with the people, we recognize, oh, this is like bigger than me. This is a societal thing that we're going through. And there can also be a nudge on Sunday around solutions, ways that you're wanting to help humanity in some regard, innovations, new ways of doing things. Again, your circumstances right now likely are not your fault, but how it is that you proceed forward is your responsibility. So with the energy Mercury Cazimi, it's like, how can I change this or disrupt this or rebel against this? And maybe some of you are even having a aha moment of some sort around getting this lightning bolt of clarity on something, seeing something clearly, and being motivated to take action around it, because we have Mars in Cancer trining Saturn a little after 5 a.m. And this is an energy around our actions and our energy being put towards something that'll stand the test of time. So it's not immediate gratification energy. It's like investing energy towards what will benefit us in the long haul. It's immediately gratifying to say, haha, told you so, loser. Not saying you would do that, but that's like immediately gratifying. But in the long term, it's just like, how can we make the lab team the best that it can be? And it's putting our sacred energy towards that. Mars retrograde, we have to conserve our energy levels. And with Mars trine Saturn, maybe it's even finding ways to use your energy more intentionally. Again, if you've been feeling disheartened like earlier this week around, why am I so lazy, or I'm so drained, or I'm so unmotivated? Is that true? Or are you just doing too much? Are you just doing too much? And with Mars trine Saturn, it could be reworking things to make it ultimately more sustainable or more grounded or something like this. It's not that you need to disrupt everything this weekend, but there just could be an energy around, this is not a wise usage of my time and energy, and I need to bucket my energy towards what's really going to benefit me within the long term, which isn't always adding new things on our plate. Sometimes it's releasing other things on our plate, or organizing or streamlining or something like this, in order to exert our energy in a way that's ultimately more nurturing for us with Mars in Cancer. And so there can be an energy around that. And, Mars is our fitness as well. And with Mars trine Saturn, it's just knowing that the energy you're investing will benefit you within the long term. You're going to feel so much better after you go to the gym than you will before. You're going to feel so much better if you eat a high protein breakfast rather than the donut. It's thinking long term, because if we go for what's immediately gratifying, skipping the gym to stay in bed, again, sugar high and then crash. Staying in bed is only interesting for so long. Sometimes we have to say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and build some momentum in a direction that future us is going to be grateful for. That's true self-care, right? With Mars in Cancer, is investing our energy towards what will benefit future you. Maybe that's cleaning your house. Great weekend to clean your house. Cancer moon, Mars trine Saturn. Maybe this is organizing your house, taking on a DIY project. This is not a time DIY project, something like this, especially with the Cancer moon aligning with Mars and trining Saturn midday Sunday. I will say if you are taking on a project organizing around the home, you may get a little sidetracked by looking at some photos. Walking down memory lane, listen, Cancer moon squares Chiron. There can be an energy around pain from the past or nostalgia of the past, being sentimental, something like this, or you could just feel more sensitive altogether on Sunday. And the Cancer moon sextile Uranus in Taurus at 8:49 p.m. would be a great time to try a new recipe, bake something, make something. Creativity shows up in many different ways. And Venus in Aries, sometimes we can feel a little, bored within our life. We crave a new challenge. And this week is really an opportunity to bake something new, to cook something new, to get creative in different sorts of ways. Maybe make it a challenge with Venus and Aries. Make something that's a little bit more challenging. But with the Cancer moon, ultimately nourishing for body, but also nourishing for soul. We like to gain new strength. We like to try new things. We like to meet new challenges to a soul level. To an ego level, we like to feel big and bad and in control all the time. But our soul genuinely is nourished by challenge and by learning and by new experiences. And there does feel like there can be opportunities around that this week. So my loves, that is our week. The Magic Monday mantra of the week is, I keep my eye on the prize. The satisfaction from delivering an I told you so lasts for about a millisecond, if that. We get that temporary indulgence around feeling smarter or better than other people, but ultimately we are all connected. Like, teamwork is what makes the dream work. There's no I in team. Venus and Aries may have something to say about that, but it is Aquarius season. There's really a nudge to stay focused on what really matters and what's deserving of your energy and deserving of your anger. Stay focused. Mars trine Saturn. The individuals that you're arguing about politics with on Facebook are not the enemy. The management at your lab team is not the enemy. Like, it's staying focused on the real issue at hand. And if you are in a dispute with someone, if you are in a conflict, it is not you versus that person. It is the both of you versus the problem. Like, stay focused on that. Don't go for blows around you did this and I was right and things like this. Stay focused. Keep your eye on the prize. What does winning look like? With the energy of Jupiter, what does moving forward look like? There's so much genius, innovative energy alive this week, but we're going to dissipate it if we get too caught up in he said, she said, and I was right and I told you so and things like that really don't matter. That's not the prize you really want. The prize is moving forward, creating equitable solutions, creating teams that work together, creating favorable results within your life. And there's an ask to really stay focused on that. So if you made it to the end of the forecast, go ahead and comment below the peach emoji or write the word peach below as a shout out to my peach passion tea. Let me know if any of you are also as passionate about peaches as I am over here. Speaking of passion, also super passionate about all of my Ana Luisa jewelry, which is a great gift for yourself or to give to someone that you hold dear this Valentine's Day. Make sure to shop my link to check out their Valentine's Day sale. There's pieces up to 25% off. Beautiful, affordable, long-lasting, water-resistant, hyperallergenic, sustainable jewelry is everybody's best friend this Valentine's Day season. So thank you so much, Ana Luisa, for sponsoring this week's Magic Monday. And I'll see you all again, same time, same place, here in the cosmic corner of the internet. But until then, drink lots of water or peach passion tea and stay cosmic.